Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a bridal tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to give you step-by-step directions on how I apply bridal makeup. This is for a long-lasting, all-day glam look. In today's video, you are going to see how I apply maybe a lot of products, but just a little bit of makeup and layer the products for a long-lasting, flawless look. Now, today's video is my version of what a classic bridal look is. Of course, that's left up to interpretation for each bride. But let's go ahead and jump in. And if you like today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And as always, please subscribe to my channel. All right, everybody, this is Lisa, my beautiful model. I had the privilege of glamming today for this bridal look. I am prepping her skin with the Estee Lauder Watery Glow Primer. A primer is absolutely essential for doing any long wearing makeup that you need to last all day long, but especially with a bridal look. So, of course, your primer is based on your skincare concerns, and she was saying that she had some areas that were dry, so I chose a hydrating primer over a mattifying one or one to like blur out any pores. She really does not have any pores at all. Of course she has pores, but not any visible pores. So as you can see, I'm taking that primer all around her face, down her neck, and even on her chest, because we will be applying makeup there as well. So we need to make sure that it's lasting and looking flawless all day long. I am using the Born This Way concealer to prep her eyelids for eyeshadow. Now this is a little hack that I use. Instead of using a shadow primer, I use a concealer, and then you'll see I go in and set that with a loose powder, and this just acts as a primer. So I'm taking that product from her lash line all the way to her brow bone and in her inner corner as well, just to make sure she has a nice base for any shadow and to ensure that that stays and lasts all day long. Now, of course, if you have an eyeshadow primer, by all means, use that. This is just something that I have done for years now, so I don't even own an eyeshadow primer or keep one in my kit. I just use the concealer, and you can see I have a fluffy brush, and I'm just quickly running a loose powder over her lids. You can use a translucent powder or a bone color, anything that really matches the skin is just fine. Now for her brows, I'm using the Anastasia by Beverly Hills Brow Wiz, and the shade in this is Ebony. This brow structure is fantastic, but I am going in and just filling in any sparse areas that are there. Again, I didn't have to do too much. I will link my full brow tutorial in the right-hand corner, so be sure to check that out if you have any questions. Now, there's always trends in eyebrows, but you want to keep it pretty classic, especially for a bridal look. No trends for today. But you'll see here, I am just taking that brow product and running it through her brows in the way that the brow hair naturally grows, or in the direction the brow hair naturally goes. So just following along and buffing it out with that spoolie. Okay, next up, I'm using the Dior bronzer. I'm actually going to start off with this in her crease. This is a beautiful transition shade. I do this quite often, but it is flawless, especially on a bride. Just depending on what you want to do with the eye, you cannot go wrong by throwing a bronzer in the crease just to buff anything out, but this is perfect for a more natural, glowy look. But yeah, I have that bronzer on a fluffy brush and just blending it, starting on the outer corner and working my way into the inner corner in windshield wiper motions. Okay, next up, I am taking the Born This Way eyeshadow palette, and I am just taking that soft brown that is the second matte shade from the left, and just adding a tiny bit of that to intensify that outer corner. Now you can see it's nothing harsh at all. I'm just barely placing any product there. But it's just going to enhance that crease and really define the eye socket, which is exactly what we're going for here. Okay, next up, I'm taking the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize cream eyeshadow palette in the shade Oyster Pearl and just putting it on her lid with a brush. It is beautiful. I feel like this really just elevates an eyeshadow look. These shadows are stunning. I have them in several colors, but I decided to use this on Lisa today, and I am so glad. Look how pretty that is. And oh my gosh, if you could see it in person, it blends out beautifully. It's foolproof. So I love it. 10 out of 10 recommend these shadows, especially if you're a bride and if you're a beginner with eyeshadow. It's perfect. It's absolutely beautiful. And you will see here, I am just taking that same brush and just making sure all of the shadows are blended out really nicely so there are no harsh lines at all. You definitely don't want that for a bridal look. So next up, I'm going to line the upper lid with the NYX Professional Makeup Retractable Eyeliner. I love this. I'm using the shade brown, and it is a beautiful chocolate brown, and I'm just getting as close to the lash line as I can. And honestly, I'm not being very precise with it because you'll see here in a little bit, I do take a angled brush and kind of buff that liner out. But I love this liner. I love NYX eyeliners and their lip liners. They're honestly so high quality. You would have no idea that they aren't high end. But I'm taking that, running it along the lash line, and we will buff and blend here in a bit. Okay, for mascara, I'm just using this old-fashioned Great Lash Maybelline mascara. Of course, it's waterproof. It's in the shade black, and I'm just popping that on her lashes really quickly for color. I'm not super particular about a specific mascara when it comes to a client that's wearing a good lash, because really I'm just putting the mascara on for color. But for the lashes, I'm using the Ardell Demi Wispies. These are so good. They are perfect for, honestly, I use them almost on almost every single client, but especially a bride. They are fluffy and classic, and they look like a natural lash. They just are a little bit thicker, and they're beautiful and really polish off that eye look. Now, because I do have a strip lash, I am going to use a liner pen. This is Maybelline. It is linked below, of course, but it really is just going to tie everything together. You can see I'm barely putting any on the lid. It is just for really to make that lash look seamless more than anything. I'm not going for a cat eye or anything like that. Next up, I'm applying the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter in the shade 4 on Lisa. I'm popping this on the high points, down the bridge of the nose, and just on her chin, on her forehead. This really just gives a nice glow to the skin before we go in with the foundation. I love this product. It's a staple in my kit, especially for a bride. I couldn't tell you the last time I have not applied this to a bride. I'm even taking it down her neck and on her chest, on her collarbone. Now, I am not zoomed out far enough here for you to see that, but I am just dragging that product down, and it's just going to help the foundation pop even more, because you'll see when I do apply the foundation, I run it down her chest and neck too. For foundation today, I am using the Maybelline Dream Radiant Liquid Foundation. I had every intention of using the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk on Lisa, but the shade that she is in, I was out of. I thought I had enough in the bottle, but I didn't. But let me tell you, this is an absolute dupe for the Giorgio Armani. And when I say dupe, I mean spot on. And you are talking the difference between $69 and $11. So the Maybelline, of course, is $11. The Giorgio Armani is $69. And it's stunning. Look how easily that blends out. And I can just really buff that in, and it looks just like skin. So if that's the look that you are going for, this is the product for you. So depending on skin type, skin texture, sometimes I do go in with a heavier foundation, but her skin is beautiful and stunning, and I wanted something that really showcased that. So that is why I went for this product, and you can see it is wonderful. Next up is the Rare Beauty Bronzer Stick. This is in the shade Always Sunny, and I am just taking that around the perimeters of her face, under and kind of on her cheekbone to add some color. We're not going in to really chisel out the face with this product, but really warm her up. And you can see I'm not going in with a super heavy hand. I'm just taking that brush and stippling it onto the stick and applying the color that way, rather than going ahead and putting the product on the face, which you see me do in a lot of my videos. And this just allows for the product to be a little bit softer, as you can see. But I'm just running that along, and it really adds a nice color to her face. Now, you'll see here in a bit, I go back and reinforce all of my cream and liquid products with a powder product. So I don't want this to be super harsh, and I don't know if you can tell or not, but it is just a tiny bit of product. Yes, a lot of different products, but just a tiny bit of each product. And I really feel like that is what separates a flawless look from a look. But also, when I go back in and reinforce all these products with powders, you are going to see that really does help define the face a little bit more. So just to encourage you a little bit, less is more. You know, you can always add product, and you can always build product up. But, you know, to take it off, you would have to take a makeup wipe and kind of restart all over. But you want to use products that you're comfortable with and that you know are going to be high quality and blend out nicely. And high quality doesn't always mean expensive. Yes, if they're expensive, a lot of times they are high quality, but heck, I use the Maybelline foundation on her, and it is high quality, and it's $11, so that's a win-win. But I'm taking the foundation brush and just running it along the perimeters of her face to make sure everything is buffed out nicely. Now to conceal, I am using the same concealer that I used on her eyelids, the Born This Way by Too Faced. And I've popped that on the inner corner and then under her eye. And then as you can see on the outer corner of her eye, I'm really taking that up towards the temple. And then I'm running this around the nose. We want to make sure there's no redness. Anywhere that you want to bring forward. That is the purpose of a highlight and a concealer. So we're trying to bring that under eye forward. So I am applying that. It's just a shade, maybe a shade and a half lighter than her complexion. But I'm blending that out with a concealer brush, and it just looks so pretty on her skin. I love the Born This Way for a bridal look. Now make sure when you're applying this, again, like I said with the bronzer, you're using a light hand. We can always go back and add more. But if you notice around the outer corner of her eye, how I took that concealer up towards the temple, look how much that cleaned up that eye area and really lifted. And it's so flawless. So you just really want to make sure everything's cohesive. See how much I'm blending. I just keep going in and blending, and then I'm taking some of that extra concealer. I didn't add any more, but and running that on her brow bone. Think it's safe to say that her skin is nice and blended. I mean, I don't like cutting out too much footage because I want you guys to see what it really takes. Of course, I cut out the footage of me grabbing the products and all of that stuff, but this is what it takes. You know, I'm buffing everything out and making sure that it's flawless. Okay, next up, I'm actually using this as blush. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm in the shade Pinkgasm. Beautiful once again. I mean, you can't go wrong with a Charlotte Tilbury product. So I'm popping that on the high points of her cheeks and also the apples of her cheek. Now look at the brush that I'm using. This is a flat top kabuki brush or foundation brush. I have been using this for all of my cream and liquid blushes, just like I do for foundation or a contour. And it blends out so pretty. If you use something like a fluffy brush, you're really going to have a lot of streaks through that blush. Next up, I am using just a tiny bit of the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. Now, you can barely see this here, but I am going in to just reinforce those, the concealer and everywhere I place that. Now, you're going to see me lightly bake here in a little bit, but for now, I'm just taking that powder puff and lightly setting her face. Now, this is the Morphe pink setting powder, and this is where I am baking. And the reason for that is she really doesn't have a lot of texture under her under eye, and we want to brighten that area, especially for photographs. I mean, that's really what it's all about with a bridal look. So this is so pretty, and you can see I was taking it along her jawline as well. But again, I've said this once, I'll say it again. We are reinforcing everything. This is the trick for long lasting makeup. It really is. It's the layering, it's reinforcing everything. So now I'm just taking a fluffy brush and lightly dusting off all of that product. So you can see I did not let that sit for a very long time. We don't want it to get too crepey or anything like that. That's definitely not a good look. So I'm taking this tiny pencil brush on her under eye and running the bronzer that I put in the crease before along that to really buff out and blend out that lower lash line. And you're going to see here in a little bit how I layer product there. But that is just a very soft brown that I am taking along that. This again, the Dior shadow that I used earlier. Now here I have a liner brush, and I am taking the Charlotte Tilbury shade that I put on her lid and running that along the lash line as well. This is so funny watching this footage because we were in deep conversation. But again, taking it and running it along the lash line, and then here in a second I'll go back and intensify that with a darker shade as well. So we have the Dior bronzer on the lower lash line, and now the Charlotte Tilbury cream Eyes to Mesmerize on the bottom. That's just going to make it pop even more. And like I said, to reinforce all of that and to make all of that come together, I'm taking the NYX liner that I used earlier and running that along her lash lines. And to finish off the under eye, I'm just running a tiny bit of, again, waterproof mascara on the bottom lash lines. She has beautiful lashes. Honestly, I think that her natural lashes were as long as the false lashes. Okay, this is the Anastasia of Beverly Hills Blush Trio. This is the shade Pool Party. And again, I'm using that to reinforce the blush. So, we put a liquid down first, and now I'm going in with a powder. So it's just going to make it pop a little more and make it stay. Now, here's a little tip. Blush is usually the first thing to fade. So you want to go a little bit heavier. Okay, this is the Benefit Cookie Highlighter. Oh, it's beautiful. I use it all the time. I keep it in my kit. I'm popping it on the highlights. I'm sorry, the high point of her cheek, her Cupid's bow, running it along the nose and the end of her nose, and we'll also pop this on her inner corner as well. Okay, for Lisa's lip, I'm using the ColourPop Lippy Pencil in the shade BFF2, and I'm just slightly overlining her lip. You'll see here, she has beautiful lips, but I'm just running that just along her lip line, barely overlining it, and I really take my time with this, so you will see. The funny part is you don't have to be super precise with this because I do go in and buff it out with my finger because the lip color I'm using matches it identical. But I do like a liner, especially for a bride, and this one's perfect. For her lip color, I'm using the Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink lip color in the shade Seductress, and this is an all-day wear lipstick. So it really will last her all day, and it's flawless. It's a beautiful color. I use it on most of my brides here lately. And then I always top it off with the Buxom lip gloss in the shade Dolly. And this is a lip plumper, so who doesn't love a lip plumper? But you will see here in a second the finished look. Okay, I have finished off her lip, and this is Lisa's final look for an all-day, long-lasting, long-wear bridal look. If you all liked today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and tell me what you think in the comment section below.